The things we learned.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name's Amelia Kramer. I'm the owner here at Upwards Art Studio in Owen Sound, Ontario, Canada. Today we're going to demo Enkaustikos hot tools. And yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Okay, I'm gonna switch cameras. I can figure that out. Let me spotlight. Okay. Ooh. Let's just adjust that a little bit. Looked good on a small phone screen. Okay, so I have an encaustic setup here. It's not the best. Okay, I have an encaustic setup here. So we've taken precautions. We have ventilation in the studio. I'm not going over any of that stuff because we're encaustic artists, and hopefully you know how to like do encaustic before you start using these tools. Okay, so okay, so Enkaustikos is a paint. They specialize in encaustic. They make encaustic sticks or hot sticks, which are these. They're the pigmented blocks. They also make some heated tools, which we're going to go over today. They also make some lovely brushes, like bristle brushes, slotted brushes. Yeah, they specialize in encaustic paint. They're based in New York State, and lovely stuff. And they know their stuff. So if you have specific questions about their products, they will absolutely answer you. Yeah, okay. So the tools I'm going to use today, even though some of them are brushes, they work differently. They work differently than the natural bristle brushes that we normally use. Okay, so I'm going to use two different styluses. So the stylus is the part that, well, it's the handle really. So I'm going to use this one by Encaustic Art. They're generally this is the one that Canadians have. And then I'm also going to use a walnut hollow, which is one that generally Americans have. This is a wood burning company, so they make tips for wood burning. This one only has an on-off, so I'm going to use this temperature regulator so that I can adjust how hot the tip is. The Encaustic Art one has a high-low on, oh, that's not even plugged in. On the, it's okay, I don't want it plugged in yet. On here, so it's 1, 2, right, and off. So it already has a high-low, so I don't really use the temperature regulator for this one, just because it has that integrated into it. So I'm going to switch some heads first. So this one has a little stylus head from that's made from Encaustic Art. Comes with the this body. I'm just going to plug it in. So I find it easiest to take off the heads when they're slightly warm. I'd have to turn it on. I like to have a little pot or something where I can drop my hot tips into so that I'm not like accidentally touching them. And then to store them, I store my tips in a little cute jar that I got from a thrift store. You can also, once they're cool, keep them in the packaging that they come in. Okay, so I'm just gonna, this is slightly hot, so I'm just gonna hold it with some pliers and twist the body. I find is the easiest. And then just drop it into my pot so that I know anything in here might be hot. And then I'm gonna put on this. So this is a bright. I'm just going to screw it in. So these heads work on both handles, which is really lovely. Okay, and it's just going to take a second to heat up. Well, more than a second. Okay. So yeah, they're made out of brass, or they're brass plated. So these are the brushes. So I have a bright, there's flats as well. And then there's angles. I don't need my hand behind that. Angle brushes. And then there's these pen nibs. So there's a whole bunch of different pen nibs. I just chose one because they kind of all do the same thing. It's just the line is different widths, basically. So this one's pretty fine. It's not the finest, but it's pretty fine. So you can use these to create texture, but you can also use them to like paint or write in the wax. Okay, so okay, so we're going to create some fine lines and details. So this is my pen nib. Okay, and this, I rarely use this one, so the cord is like wrapped around itself. So you can just go right into the blocks, and you'll see the wax come up into the pen nib like it's a pen, like a pen. You know what I mean? So you can draw just with that. You can also you can clean them with a rag or a paper towel, whatever you choose. You can also, if you have pots on your griddle, you can also just stick it in the pot and it will, this is pretty transparent. Let's try that white without making it really pretty. Make it a little bit dirty. That's where this works. That white was pretty transparent, wasn't it? Should have checked these colors. It's a little bit better, but I'm putting it on something that's red. There we go. So you can use them from your pots on your griddle. They'd obviously be more transparent than something straight from a block. So to obviously use them straight from the block, you just put the pen nib in and it will start to dig itself in. Oh my gosh. Okay. Right, and then you can write. You can also just use these clean and it will, let's find somewhere that you can see this, like this dog thing here. So obviously all the metal is hot, so just be aware of that. So you can use it to remove, I'm turning this up.
It's almost like incising, right?
Yeah, you can use it to incise. This looks right. You could, if you want to write like a secret word or something. I just don't think this is hot enough right now. And I'm really wanting to hold it like a pencil, like way down. So that one's better. How about it's more hot? And this is it's dirty. No, you can't see that on the video. Right. So I just had this like little tiny thing. I could, you know, with a bigger nib, you could write a bigger word if you wanted to, or just add little bits of like controlled texture. A little bit more controlled than a little bit significantly more controlled than your carving tools, and more not so in your face, right? If you want like subtle, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for, right? And I could, you know, make a line on this dog transfer. I always use the transfers that are wrecked as demos. Okay, anyway, you get the idea of that. Any questions about the pen nib?
Ever, like, because one of the workshops we did some incising and then we put a different color wax over top and then scraped away. Have you tried that with
it goes a little, you can do that. I would use pigment stick. That was one thing I was gonna do for the brush. I would use a pigment stick just because this isn't, we can try it, but I just gotta watch for that. Right, because it's so skinny, or not skinny, but like hardly in there, that I'd have to be super careful. not to just scratch out, like remove all of
Right.
what was there, because yeah, that's what's happening kind of.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, so I'm gonna use a pigment stick later when we
Okay.
use the brush for texture. Yeah, so
Sorry,
this
jumped ahead.
no, that's okay. So yeah, I find that the pen nib is better for writing
Okay.
or making shapes or something like that, or that are very deliberate. That makes sense?
Yep.
Okay. You can just like go bananas, right? Like this isn't very, this feels like it's not very hot, right? You could just make some texture that way too. But again, I would really use a brush, which we're about to use. Okay, so we're gonna use the Bright. So this has been plugged in for a little bit. So you can just use it similar to the, I'm gonna use it on this pink part. Similar to the the pen nib, there we go, using words, right? You can just make slight texture in it.
Mhm.
You can, on this one, you can adjust how hot it is, right? Because it's kind of, you can kind of see it.
Subtle.
It's subtle, super subtle. Like straight up and down. Anyway, you can also paint with these. So they can load up paint, and you
Oh.
can paint with them like a brush. And this color is obviously very transparent, so let's try. I didn't test these colors, I think I said that already. Oh, excuse me. I feel like this might be too hot or something. It's not quite melted, so. Right, so they're very, you can use them more like a paintbrush, obviously, like a paintbrush. To add very specific things. So let's make some texture. So I'm kind of pressing down a little bit. So it's really slight. I don't know if you can feel that. And this one I don't feel like I need to choke up on it because it's a brush, right? So, okay, there's that. So now that we have some texture, what did I do with my pigment stick? So I'm gonna use some pigment stick. Handcrafted doesn't make them, but RNF does, and so does Cama. And protecting myself with gloves because it is pigment. I'm just going to take a little bit of it and just rub it into that. And then use some, let's just use some paper towel.
What's in the container?
Vegetable oil. Okay, so I'm blotting it. If you want to learn how to use pigment sticks, there's another YouTube video. So I can just rub it away. And now I have that like really subtle, that the camera can't see, really subtle texture that's brought out by the brush. Right, so it's yeah, I find this more subtle than the other thing, like than using a carving tool or, right, like some of this is really in your face, right? This is like super in your face, whereas this is like nice, and not that the other thing isn't nice, but like, you know, doing landscape painting, something that might be more realistic than the abstract mess that I have here. Not mess, but like, yeah, these are all demo boards, right? So let's try this again. Down somewhere.
Black.
The black, yeah, let's just move that right over. Switch to this yellow. You giving them a stir because you've been sitting for a while. Put the pen nib on the other one.
Look at the different sizes of pen nibs.
This is the second smallest, so I probably should have chose a bigger one to demo, but it's this little bit here. I do like the brush.
Mhm.
I do know some people who use it like pretty regularly to like paint. So more in a painterly way. They fuse as they go, so you don't need to fuse them again with a torch or a heat gun. So that's super nice, right? Because they're heating the wax slightly below and then adding more hot wax on top. Anything else that we were gonna do?
So how are, this is the one that I have.
Yeah.
How is this one different than the pen nibs?
So
How do they work differently?
they both, like, this is similar to a pen nib, right? That it sucks up the wax. It's a different company. So this one's made in the UK. It's the people who make the encaustic art stuff. Generally that company, like I use a lot of their products, but generally that company, they use encaustic in a different way than North Americans. It's more painting on a card, using your iron to move the wax around, more landscape-ish, but like imagined landscape-ish. Yeah, I don't want to say that they're ugly and bad, but
No.
but very more rudimentary than yeah. So these are nice too. I'm gonna do a different video about encaustic art stuff. Yeah, so this is this might not have the temperature right. Maybe it's too hot. I just couldn't get it to. And I'm super impatient, right? Oh, that's better.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So I've got the temperature more at 75%.
Okay.
So I think I just had it too hot. Right. And I like dipping into the blocks.
Yeah.
Because then you get that like that looks like a ghost. We were talking about ghost road. Okay, let's not. Shoot. Anyway, now it's got a ghost with freckles. Yeah, so I don't know where I was going with that because the ghost threw me off.
And the bear.
Yeah, it's just oops. So I like going into the blocks just because you have complete control over the colors. Obviously, you're not using mixed colors. There. Right, this is really okay. This is getting dumb. Yeah, I like going into the blocks. You'll see the blocks in my toolbox have all these dots in them from different tools. Yeah, any questions about that? That was pretty quick and dirty, but no, okay. That's the little silly ghost face with the snib. Okay. Okay, switch back the camera and not burn myself. Oh, track that work like that. Spotlight. Okay. So yeah, that was Enkaustikos hot tools. We're an art supply store located in the River District in downtown Owen Sound, Ontario, Canada. We have lots of other YouTube videos about other products that we sell. We also do classes here for kids, teens, and adults. and follow us online on socials at Upwards Art Studio. Subscribe to our channel. Everybody always says that in YouTube, and I feel so weird saying it. And what else do you do? You visit our website at upwardsartstudio.com and subscribe to our newsletter. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.